Welcome everybody to a look at a new box set from Arrow Video, who have been on a bit of a roll with their box sets as of late, with the likes of the Cold War Creatures box set and then a few others. And yeah, this latest one is Giallo Essentials. So yeah, this brings to Blu-ray with 2K transfers, three Giallo films that have pretty much been forgotten about. And yeah, the first of those is 1972's Smile Before Death. Now, this is a film that is directed by Silvio Amadio, who we've not seen anything from before. Clocks in at 85 minutes long, so it's actually quite short for a Giallo film. Usually they're at least 90 minutes or 100 minutes long. And yeah, it stars Jenny Tambori, who was also in the really rather fantastic The Psychic and The Suspicious Death of a Minor. Now, granted, she didn't have major roles in either of those films, but yeah, they were two fantastic films, the former being from Lucio Fulci. And yeah, it also saw Silvano Tranquilli, who was also in High Crime and The Violent Professionals, two other films that have been released in the last year or so, High Crime being particularly rather good as well. And yeah, this is about teenage Nancy Thompson, who arrives unexpectedly at her mother's county villa. And she discovers that her mum has died a violent death. The police investigate and believe that she killed herself by cutting her throat with a broken piece of glass. Nancy meets and becomes friends with Gina, who was her mother's best friend and who has a special relationship with her stepfather. Soon the older man turns his roving eye towards Nancy as suspicion about the suicide starts to come to light. Now, although this isn't quite the strongest of Giallo efforts from the 70s, it's easily my least favourite of the three in this box set, this which primarily comes down to a lack of kills and excessive amounts of nudity. This is nonetheless manages to be engrossing enough throughout, while the finale is excellent. The cast is also good, it is well shot, it has a great score, and it is predominantly well paced. But yeah, just wish it was a bit more consistently entertaining for more of the plot, as it only truly manages to be in its finale. But given the finale is only the last 30 minutes or so, which is about a quarter, well, about a third of the film's length, that is a decent amount of time. But I still would have liked the rest of the film to be as entertaining as that. But typically, when a film isn't as quite as entertaining in its first or a second act, they do try and make up for it in the finale. But I wish it was a bit more consistent throughout its 85-minute running time. And secondly, also from 1972, we have The Weapon, The Hour, The Motive, which is a pretty cool title, to be honest. And yeah, directed by one-time director Francesco Mazzi. For some reason, only directed one film. And yeah, clocks in at 105 minutes long, so a full 20 minutes longer than Smile Before Death. Stars Eva Samaras, who will be in the next film in this box set, but only those two that I've seen her in anything from before. And yeah, this is about Don Giorgio, who is a handsome young priest and teacher in a convent, who is involved with two lovers, Orcheda and Giulia. When he repents and vows to return to the church, he is savagely beaten to death, more cut to death in some regards. But not long after, Giulia has her throat slashed. Inspector Boito falls in love with and prepares to marry Orchida, who is also the main suspect. The key to solving the case seems to lie with an inquisitive boy called Ferruccio, who is kept locked up and drugged. He witnessed one of the murders, but will anyone believe his story? Now, this Giallo film made for a genuinely superb, great viewing experience thanks to its highly engrossing plot that does plenty different from other Giallo efforts from the time, while being well paced and featuring a satisfying finale. This is thanks to the fact that not only is a child central to the plot, but they are also not stupid. And yeah, they are also really rather well done in terms of characterization as well, predating later films where that would be the case by several years. You think to the likes of the Spielberg films or other efforts that have, especially in the 80s, with the Goonies and stuff like that, where they would have children as the forefront of the characters. But in this is 1972. This is a good decade or so before any of that. So. Yeah, and you can also see it as a reimagining of The Black Cat as well, both of which are really rather likeable aspects. The cast is also really good. I love its convent setting. The violence is well handled, but there isn't all that much to it. In fact, there's only two deaths, and one of them happens off screen right up until the finale, where you see the death of the priest himself. The religious aspect feels necessary to the plot rather than just being tacked on. The score is decent, and even though it isn't difficult to work out who the killer is, I was still involved and invested in how they would be caught. So yeah, really, really fantastic. Yes, it's got some excessive nudity, and again, like Smile Before Death, but on the whole, it's a lot more restraint in that regard. It balances itself out between, you know, the more violent and more, you know, exploitive kind of aspects with a really well done plot. But like I said, obviously I found out the killer pretty much early on, as it kind of signals it in a fairly distinctive manner. But outside of that, seeing them getting caught and the finale itself with the tension and how they get caught is expertly done. So yeah, really, really solid film. And finally, from 1974, we have The Killer Reserved 9 Seats, which again is a really other cool title. Directed by Giuseppe Bonetti, who I've not seen anything from before. Clocks in at 99 minutes long. Stars Chris Avram, who was also in The Violent Professionals, as well as Eva Samaras, who we've talked about earlier. And it's about a rich man who gathers together friends and relatives at the abandoned theatre he owns. But the party isn't fun for long, since apparently one of them is a murderer. So yeah, with its singular great setting, as it is pretty much wholly set in this theatre. There's a bit of driving at the beginning where the people are getting to the theatre, but after that it's solely set in the theatre. This Giallo film immediately sets itself apart from its contemporaries, as usually Giallo films are set in a in a wider environment, in a country, or in some Giallo efforts are set in multiple countries, where which it does again in terms of setting itself apart with its finale, and which brings to the fore a genre rarely used in Giallo films, as it's usually mystery, crime, murder, stuff like that. But this brings a supernatural element into it in the end. The cast is also good, although I wish more of the characters were more distinct, as they do get a little bit confusing between the few of them until they start getting bunked off and you end up getting a bit more of a focus on certain characters. It is well paced, has some really rather creative kills, uses its setting extremely well, the cinematography is on point, the score is decent, there's a fair decent amount of tension, particularly in the finale, while overall the plot is engrossing. So yeah, another solid effort. Now, in terms of scores, I give Smile Before Death 3.5 out of 5. And yeah, this is the disc itself. You can reverse the artwork, which I'll show you in a second, but you also get a booklet in this as well. So there's the disc, but you also get a booklet in here as well, which has shots from the film. Also has the Artifice of Image, Distorted Realities in Silvio Armado's Smile Before Death by Rachel Nisbet. And then you got About the Restoration as well, which was done in a 2K resolution, as it was scanned in that form from its original 35mm camera negative. So yeah, in terms of the way these films look, in terms of the presentation, they look fantastic. And there's a shot from the film with one of our characters. And yeah, like I said, you can reverse the artwork as well. So if you want the original Italian artwork, then you can do so like that. So yeah, which again, I like the fact that they give you those options to choose between the two. And then the weapon, the Eye with the Motive, is the one I give the highest score, 4.5 out of 5. Really, really impressed by it. Really surprised me as well, because I wasn't expecting much from any of these films, to be honest, because they don't have the highest of average scores on the likes of Letterboxd, for instance. And outside of them, I couldn't really find much in the way of critical, analysis outside of likes of Letterboxd. So yeah, and again, you get a really nice reverse artwork there, which is cool. And again, you get a booklet, which for some reason got a bit damaged on the way here, unfortunately, with the corner of one of the boxes as well. But again, yeah, you get the cast and crew, and then you get Illuminating the Obscure, The Weapon, the Eye with the Motive by Barry Forshaw, and again, About the Restoration. So yeah, you got shots from the film. And yeah, again, original 35mm camera negative, scanned and restored in 2K resolution. In Bologna, of all things, so it's actually done in Italy. So yeah, and finally we have obviously The Killer Reserve 9 Seats. Again, there's a disc, and yeah, once again you get a booklet, and once again you get the reversible artwork, which is the artwork used on the box itself, as you can see. And yeah, again, get another booklet. And then there were 9, the Gothic stylings of Giuseppe Bonetti by Peter Gilmstad, and yeah, again, restored in 2K from the original 35mm camera negative, restored by Arrow Films themselves in London, and yeah, again, you get shots from the film to go away with the bits on the back. So yeah, really, really fantastic release. All I have a real issue with is the fact that Yes, the box is nice and thick as usual, so it's not going to crumple or anything like that. But then you've got the slip cover on the box itself, which, as you can see, has easily gotten damaged in postage, and yeah, it's doesn't feel very expensive given how much this cost, which I think was about £45. So yeah, which for 3 films is good. You know, you normally pay for a new Blu-ray about £12 or so. So yeah, 3 times 12, you know, is 36. But I don't feel like the extra £9 is really in there with that slip cover and yeah, just a few booklets. I would have liked a poster at least, or some art cards or something like that, just to bump that price up a little bit. But on the whole, really enjoy this collection of films. And yeah, because I'm a massive fan of Giallo films, especially in the last few years, even more so with Arrow Films bringing out all the 4K releases of the Argento films. It's yeah, definitely become one of my favourite genres alongside the likes of film noir. But yeah, still highly recommend this box set. I'd like to know your thoughts on this film, on these films, if you've seen them already. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you with the next one. Bye.